Okay, thank you very much, Duda Vice. Well, good afternoon to everybody. My name is Tom Trebot. I'm the director of the Columbia Global Center in Rio. And I've had the pleasure of meeting, glancing at the faces and names, most of you, but not all. But it's good to see all of you here today. So we're providing background. I'll try to keep it as light as possible, and then give time for your questions at the end. We're announcing the second round, or talking about the second round of seed funding for faculty, now including doctoral students, researchers, and postdocs, to do travel and research on climate, with an emphasis on the city of Rio de Janeiro, but also, of course, more broadly in Brazil. So that's the purpose. We launched the call for proposals some weeks ago, and the deadline is going to be in early December, as you'll see. This is just a brief. It doesn't seem possible. 6 months have gone by since we announced this initiative at the beautiful museum, Museu de Manhã, here in Rio. Our support has come, which is why we kind of emphasize Rio, from the city government of Rio and the mayor, Eduardo Paes. It isn't intended only to work on city and urban sustainability issues and adaptation. From a city perspective, Rio is, as you know, an iconic city, the site of the first Earth Day, the site of the first Rio Plus 20, 20 years later, the site where the UN's Sustainable Development Objectives were announced, reformulated, and quantified. So it's a city, as you well know, with a global reach and reputation, and an excellent place to look at climate issues generally in Brazil. But what I'll be emphasizing today and throughout the period of time in which we are benefiting from the city's partnership is really, hopefully, to draw as many of you as possible into themes that are directly relevant to the city. We are proud, or well, I should say we strive to reach for all four purposes in this grant of the university: research, teaching, service, and social impact. What former President Bollinger called that fourth purpose of the universities is sort of our general goal. But I would say in more common terms, to bring together the climate-related faculty and research community on climate at Columbia with counterparts, partners, stakeholders here in Brazil, and what we hope is a fruitful two-way street, a very democratic dialogue about the planetary crisis, and especially from the point of view of the global South. We have an agreement with the city, so this is, in a sense, public money, political money. So we're, as ever, cautious with it and held to account for it, which is what we've promised to do for the city government. It's a 2-year grant initially, 2023, which has gone by so quickly, and then 2024 to those purposes that you see there on the screen, to stimulate research, to get more Brazilians, by the way, moving to Columbia, visiting Columbia and interacting with you and your colleagues at the university, promoting dialogue, using our convening powers, and engaging to the extent we possibly can in this Columbia, to the highest standards of Columbia University in climate education. So that's what we promised to do, and are accountable, as I say, to the city for doing. We're very pleased, encouraged to go forward with the initiative, partly because we've had such a kind of overwhelming response, not only from the city of Rio, which is rare for any major city to take upon itself an initiative of this magnitude, but also from a wide range of Brazilian academics. I'm sure you know some of them. I won't call attention to any one of them in particular, other than to express my gratitude to all. But it's a combination of Columbia faculty, my colleagues from the Columbia Global Centers in other parts of the world, deans at the university, noted public figures from Brazil. So those are, and of course, NGO leaders, kind of give you an idea of the broad sense we have of our stakeholders here in Rio and in Brazil. Those are some of them, and those of you who are coming to Brazil for the first time may not recognize all the names or even most of the names, but they're major players. We have over 11 years of experience working in Rio. We have an experienced staff on board, and we've been fortunate to count as partners in many projects over those years. The most noteworthy, some of the most noteworthy academic institutions in Brazil, as well. Oops, I think I skipped a slide here. Right, and as well as many community partners. I don't want to leave them out. Part of what we're trying to do is turn research into action and stay close to the real concerns of people. And no way better to do that than to partner with some of the strongest NGOs here in Rio. Again, I won't mention names, not to leave anyone without a mention, but it is a broad range of NGOs that partner with us who we feel we can call upon maybe to help your research, to find new partners, to bring you up to speed on what the state of the art is in terms of research in particular areas or geographic regions of Brazil. This part, again, I'm very conscious, not just reading words to you. You can read this faster and probably better than I can anyway. But what we're looking for are Columbia faculty, researchers, postdocs, and doctoral students. Since round one, which was concluded late last summer, we've included doctoral students more specifically in those who are eligible. We've emphasized that for faculty and researchers, no prior experience in Brazil is required, although it's certainly very helpful and an interest in the country, it goes without saying. For doctoral students and postdocs, the bar is a bit higher. We're looking for people who have past experience in Brazil and speak Portuguese. But I want to be clear on that distinction, right? The faculty and researchers, we welcome all here in Brazil, whether you've had experience in this fascinating country or not. These are some of the winners from the first round. You've obviously seen some publications. Columbia Communications did a lot to boost the first round, and then the groups that emerged with awards. They're from as you can see, a variety of schools. The law school is there, the School of Professional Studies, the School of Journalism, 2 researchers from CIPA, and even a postdoctoral fellow from Teachers College working on education, climate education, especially among traditional communities. So there were others received. I wish we could have funded them all, my honest opinion. I encourage you to, if you're just remotely on the fence about whether to apply or not, it's hopefully not a painful process, and we welcome all applications. And I'll say in advance, I wish I could fund them all. We've kind of focused on a number of priority areas. Again, we're not insisting that it only be in the city of Rio, but these are themes that do resonate here in our city: of urban sustainability, climate finance, including this issue of climate finance and climate justice as, in other words, climate finance as development finance. That second issue, that second bullet here I'm pointing attention to is more than just another phrase that you commonly see. Rio in 2024 is going to host the G20 group of governments, which deals with finance and will focus on climate. And so anyone concerned or with issues of climate finance, I think you'll find that a receptive audience here in the city and for that topic, and especially climate finance that takes into account, as I said earlier, climate justice, seeing some part of the trillions of dollars that Brazil needs by 2050 to meet its net zero commitments. Some part of that is also to be seen, I think it should be seen as development finance. Innovation for the green economy, none of these will surprise you. Land use and forest preservation in Rio, a priority area for us. This is a city, as it says there, forests, rivers, lakes, beaches, bays, lots of water, sometimes more than you'd like, including fragments, the Floresta da Tijuca, largest remaining fragments of the Atlantic biome. It's not limited, I say again, to only forest preservation and land use in Rio. Land use is probably the major source of emissions in Brazil. So all proposals will be heard, but one can also think about that issue of land use and forest preservation from the point of view of Rio de Janeiro. Ocean science, a city located on the coast, threatened by sea level rise, other coastal areas not far from us in the city of Sao Paulo, experiencing tragedies related to sea level rise, climate migration not becoming an issue. So the whole concept of what might be called ocean science is very important. And then, and certainly it was never truer that last but not least, the effects of climate change on vulnerable populations. One thinks of the large part of the Rio de Janeiro population which lives on precarious settlements on hillsides, routinely urged to abandon their homes during torrential rains, which are becoming more frequent here in Brazil and as you know, all around the world. And possibly those torrential rains now in the summer, we're entering the South American summer, likely to be even more severe with El Nino effects. Don't know about that, but it's certainly an issue that's in the back of people's minds as we look at the summer ahead, which is traditionally the rainy season in Rio. These are the types of awards that, again, for faculty and researchers, a little bit different for doctoral students and postdocs. I'll focus on the faculty and researchers in my presentation. We want you to come to rekindle old relationships or to start new ones, to visit us. So there'll be some amount of faculty travel intended for you to get a head start on a more full proposal for outside funding and simply to come to Brazil. There are awards, the amounts we've boosted in this round for faculty workshops and small conference grants. We do want the PIs to always visit Brazil. The workshop could occur back at Columbia if that's more convenient, but we'd love to see, and you have the use of our facilities here in Rio. And if you're not doing the workshop in Rio, we can help find you places to have meetings in other parts of Brazil. Best efforts, of course. And then one that is important, and we'll hope there'll be some take up in the largest awards are for $25,000. Again, a seed fund for faculty, researchers, and student in Brazil collaboration. We'd love to essentially the same sorts of research grants that you're doing, but those that involve Brazilian students and students from Columbia University are especially welcome. So those are the three types of awards that are being offered. These are the eligibility requirements. Maybe I'll just focus on the ones that are in bold. I think I've mentioned already point number one. The third point about only one proposal per PI, I don't think that's necessarily a binding constraint for anyone. Required to spend time in Brazil, so that's not a terribly burdensome ask, I don't think, and you'll be received with open arms when you get here. We're looking for projects though that can be completed, and that's important to emphasize. By December 31st, 2004, which is when this first grant period under the city of Rio ends. We'd like to be able to show, I think we have to be able to show to the city, this is the kinds of collaborations that resulted. Here's the type of work that will continue on after the grant, this initial grant has been given. And, you know, I'll be honest, if we want to apply for further funding from the city or from other donors, if further funding from the city is not likely, we need to show those results. So these are small grants. Your activities will be obviously measured against this relatively modest amount of funding that's available, but we're hoping to have some results, initial results by the end of 2024. Interdisciplinary collaboration, involvement of CU students, all these have been mentioned before. Back at my day at Columbia, I wasn't used to such well-organized platforms for submitting proposals. And it seems very very thorough to me, and it may be somewhat intimidating in terms of the time commitment, but it really isn't. Your objectives, your defined activities, your approaches, and plans for measuring both outputs and outcomes, longer term impacts. And those the selection committee takes each of those seriously. So you got to fill in all the answers, right? Don't skip any boxes. But it's all good. I think it results in it saves time for everybody in the long run if it's all that's blocked out. Obviously, we'd like to see any plans. Every small seed funding program wants to see plans for what could make your project successful as it is, what makes it sustainable through other sources of funding. This is about doctoral students. If they're already on the phone or on the Zoom, happy if I give you short shrift, don't be alarmed, but this is something new. Those maximum awards are 10,000 for a maximum of 5 awards to be made in that category. Just parenthetically, we have a little more than $200,000 in this particular round to dispense. The selection committee is rigorous, and not all of it is necessarily going to be spent, although my dream is to spend all of it. That may not be the case, but notionally, we're dealing right now in this round with about $200,000 plus dollars. These are, I'll skip these if you don't mind and come back to them. As I say, if a doctoral student or postdoc is on the call and has a question here about what eligibility are required for them, let me skip that. Oops, it goes on. There's none of this is particularly onerous or unexpected. The last point, though, priority will be given to applicants who speak Portuguese and have past experience in Brazil. What we're discovering over time, and I'd like to think the Rio Global Center has some credit, it received some credit, has been a large increase in the number of graduate students from Brazil. I'm sure some of you know that. Some of you may be graduate students from Brazil at the university, and they're useful. They're wonderful context for they know Colombia well, and they know their home entities or organizations here in Brazil. So if collaboration is our goal, and it certainly is, then these types of applications from as doctoral students or postdocs are particularly welcome. If there's any, this is maybe many of you know that it's new since my time back on the campus that the submittable platform, we have Ann Schoenborn with us here today, who is our expert in how that submittable platform works. It's very user-friendly. The proposals are due by December 4th at 11:59 EST, and we would expect announcements to be made in early 2024. Again, there is a selection committee that helps us, a variety of points of views and disciplinary points of views and different points of emphasis, as you would expect in a well-formed selection committee. There are templates, right, Ann? I don't know if I don't see you there, but I see you're with us here. Your project workplate template, your budget template, your budget narrative, and so forth. Common requirements, but all analyzed carefully. Those are the budgetary guidelines. I don't think there's anything that need to detain us here. If there are questions, let us know. Obviously, we're not just because we're frugal, but economy class, we're dealing with public funds, and must be very mindful of what we're spending the city's money on. I can come back to that if you want, or others can help, but I don't think anything there. Translation, printing, travel, research assistance costs, stipends if you bring students, and so forth. Nothing of that is particularly, I don't think, out of the ordinary. And then a series of frequently asked questions. I'll just let you look at that. You're probably getting tired of me speak anyway. All faculty, all full-time researchers, more than one request, full-time doctoral students. If I applied for grants in the first round, can I apply again, and so forth? The answer to that is yes, subject to progress having been made during the first round grant. This last question, maybe, I don't have any context in Brazil. And we found that in the first round, actually quite a bit. that there are contacts, or there may be the proposal writer may list contacts, but they're not necessarily current contacts, and they may not be the best contacts. So we're always happy to help out if we can. I don't want to overestimate what we can do. Some of the subject matter obviously escapes our collective wisdom in the Global Center in Rio, and so we're not going to be necessarily of immediate assistance in finding contacts, but we'll always try. Now, I think I've gotten it. Before I thank you, I can maybe at this point, should I stop sharing, Duda? Would that be best so that we can see everybody, or should I keep the screen on for future reference?
Well, it's up to you.
It's up to me. Well,
yeah.
let me. Oh, I was thinking, let me stop sharing. We can at least see each other a little better. I didn't introduce I've got a backup here today. I didn't come and face you all alone. I've got a number of our colleagues from the Columbia Global Center on the line, and if I stumble, they can step in and pick me up. Duda, I think, has placed the detailed information on the RFP in the chat. If you want to click on that, so it's open on your computer when the call is ended. And I'm going to try to look at everybody in the gallery and mindful of your time, but also encouraging any questions that occur to you or issues. Greetings to all, now that I can see you all. And if you'd like to, I can never find it, but there's somewhere there a raise hand function or something like that if you want to use it. And then while you collect your thoughts, I see you first, Luciani, and then you, Susanna. Luciani?
Hello, thank you, Thomas, for all the explanation. I'd like to ask you, it's a very simple question because I was looking at the document regarding the request, and there are two types of awards. One, it's called Awards for Columbia Faculty and Researchers, where yes, and another one for doctoral and postdoc. However, in the first one, we didn't mention the affiliates. So I'd like just to check if the affiliates are also able to also participate, because I am from Teachers College.
Yes, Luciani, I can say yes to that. Sometimes I'm not quite certain how many affiliates there are out there, but we've had applications from Barnard College and Teachers College, which tend to be where most of those questions arise. But if there are other affiliates out there and researchers at them or faculty at them, I think they're also welcome to apply. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I have another question, but I do after Susanna.
Susanna, nice to see you, Susanna.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good.
So I have two questions. One, which I think is the most concern for me, is that the research a lot has to be done by the end of the year, given that, you wouldn't even know if this is funded by the early
part of the year.
Early part of the year, and if people like me that teach, we can't really go to Brazil, unless it's just the summer or when we are not teaching, and my summer is already packed at this point. So do you have, if the project has like halfway through the end of the year, or because I think it's very hard to do a research project, and if you didn't even start and expect to have a results by the end of the year.
No, I understand, Susanna.
Especially the requirement that you have to go to Brazil.
Yeah. Hopefully that's not a hardship, but I know what you mean. We've experienced that in the first round, Susanna, already. We asked, we wanted to have a priority for those who could make substantial progress by the end of this year, and what's happened is the arrival of professors almost always has been put off for one reason or another, sometimes health, but often just the accumulation. I think we understand that, Susanna. I think what we're looking for is a best efforts basis to provide something that we can, again, it's a good thing to have the research, full stop, but we're hoping that we can renew this grant with the city and certainly with other funders, because it's attracted a lot of attention. The funding we have now extends till December 31st, 2024. I think the city will allow us to spend money beyond that, which is maybe the most important thing, isn't though we can't spend money, or you can't spend money after 2024, but the need for us to move quickly, although quickly and research are not necessarily always two very close things, quality research. But I think what I'm kind of saying is that when you apply, if you know there's nothing very substantive that's going to come out during all of 2024, you know, I leave it up to you to decide whether it's worth applying. But if it's worth a shot, you think you can do it, you can have at least some collaboration set up and a fuller proposal, a partial result, something that we can show the city, first of all, and other funders that, you know, this is what's happening and it's very exciting. I think that's what it's meant by.
Yeah, I'm more concerned that having to go before December 24, because
it's just having to,
yes, and spend some time there. I'd love to go to Brazil, but you know, just my commitments. So the other question is, you really have an emphasis on interdisciplinary research.
Right.
Is it worth putting research there, for instance, only on climate and only extreme events, or that will not be highly ranked because it's not interdisciplinary?
No, interdisciplinary, I think, is kind of what everybody dreams for, right? But we're divided up at the university in ways that make that difficult, right? Including reasons of time and scheduling across departments and disciplines. I would say it's a plus, Susanna, if I'm answering your question directly. I'm hoping to. It's a plus, but if we've got someone coming here with expertise in, you know, El Nino effects on rainfall in Brazilian cities, just something that comes to the top of my mind, something we were talking about with the city this morning. You know, it isn't just because you're not collaborating with someone in the political science department. You know, but we're also got objectives in mind. We want to involve people like yourself from the Lamont Doherty and other places far from the main campus, maybe, or in disciplines that haven't been here before, but bring us new connections. So it's this is an overworked word, but a holistic approach to evaluating you know, the interdisciplinary priority. It's not set in stone, but and I won't say it's not a priority, it is, but we use, you know, like I say, that holistic approach.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Susanna. Okay, Ana Luisa, I think we have a lot of on the phone here today.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. So, yeah, I would like to know about, like, I'm a PhD student here at Columbia, and I would like to know if we have to spend just 1 week researching Rio, or if we need like 2 weeks. Are we allowed to do it, or it's like it is mandatory to spend just 1 week?
No, the other way around, Ana Luisa. It's a minimum requirement of 1 week. We'd love to have you more, and maybe Brazilians will even have the ability to stay longer. They've got an infrastructure probably back here in Brazil that they can depend on. No, it's the other way around. It's simply that we want people to actually have to come here and see the country. And it's I think if I understood your question correctly, yes,
that's correct. Thank you so much. And I have just one more question about partnerships.
Yes.
Like it would be just universities, but if you would like to make some partnership with museums, for example, or some NGOs, are we allowed to do it?
Yeah, let me Camila, who's nodding positively. And Camila is our Chief Program Officer. Camila, if you unmute yourself, you can answer that question. That's something that's near and dear to your objectives for this round.
Yeah, I think the idea is to foster collaboration between Columbia faculty and researchers and students, and come to Brazil with Brazilian stakeholders, regardless if they are academic universities, or if they are working more on the professional, non-academic aspect of that. So collaboration with museums, NGOs, public sector, all of this is welcome.
All counts.
Wonderful.
We have
Thank
one
you so
person-
much.
We have one person that's coming down to work with indigenous. Well, she's also working with a local university, working among indigenous communities and groups that represent the indigenous communities and traditional communities. So that's all to be encouraged. All to be encouraged. And Luciani.
Hello, I'm here again.
Yes. Nice to
My
see you.
Nice to see you too. My question is regarding I will be very specific, because I am doing nowadays thesis research connected with education and connected with slums and Rio de Janeiro and Brazil and all stuff.
Right.
However, I was considering to graduate on the end of this year.
Yes.
And my intention is, in fact, using this award to implement the idea on campus. So I'd like to know, do I need to postpone my graduation to participate on this award or not?
And by the way, Luciani, thank you very much for your work you're already doing with us on climate education. And it's been very much appreciated here by us and in the city of Rio. Anne, can I draw upon you to the tough questions? Anne Schoenborn will run the platform. I don't know if you want to come on screen or not, Anne, but if you could answer the question that Luciana has posed, I'd appreciate it.
That is something we might need to get back to you individually on. What are you, a postdoc or a doctoral student? What is your
Master?
Oh, master's student. Are master's student eligible for this?
Oh, Luciana, it's doctoral students.
Yeah, in my recollection, this particular
Are
opportunity.
you going into a doctoral program following this? There may be a bigger problem here.
Yeah. So because you mentioned, because I'm full-time researcher here I am a master's student, but I'm full-time researcher here
at college. Okay.
at Teachers College.
Yeah, you're full. I think, wait, what's going on here? No, yes, you are eligible as long as your research appointment will continue beyond your graduation date. Will it? Or does it end when your graduation?
On December.
December now, right?
Yes.
Can we get back to you? I think Anne had the right approach. Every ounce of me wants to say yes, but the prudence says, let me get back to you. Okay, Luciani? It would be
okay.
We'd like to very much that you could submit an application. Does that sound okay, Anne? We'll get back to Luciani on that question.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Danielle?
Well, I have a question. I'm a visiting scholar here at Columbia, and I would like to know if I'm eligible for this award.
Danielle, again, I'd like to say yes, but I don't think the way it's written that you are. It's as a visiting scholar, you have to have a full-time faculty appointment, researcher scientist or researcher at the university. But what you can do, I think, is find a faculty's PI who can, someone who does meet the eligibility requirements in working on your project. You're probably not, I'm not going to guess, and you don't need to say, but I'm going to guess you're probably not working alone. And there may be Columbia faculty or researchers who could take the lead in a project you'd be involved in. And then I lose Danielle. I might have. I don't see him there anymore. So we may need to get back to Danielle. Any other issues or questions? I see some familiar faces on the screen. Maybe they know things already, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot. Are there any additional questions now? Well, if not, Camila, did you want to add anything in conclusion? Camila, our program.
Sari has her hand.
Say it again.
Hi, yeah.
Oh, sorry, raised your hand. Oh, I didn't see
Hi,
it.
sorry.
Sorry, there you are.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's any like preferences for this seed funding for, say, junior researchers, like you know, younger researchers, that sort of thing, or is it mostly open to anyone if there's no preferences given?
I say it's rather be sorry that there are other proposals that Columbia Global, which we're a part, runs, which do have a directly stated approach preference for younger scholars, emerging scholars, new faculty, and so forth. We didn't make a distinction here. What we're just trying to do. There's a lot of requirements, as you can already see. We didn't want to pile more on because we're just anxious to get collaborations going. We have a rare opportunity to do so. So all applicants are welcome. And obviously we need experience, but we also need the enthusiasm that comes with someone who started at the beginning of their career. I think I do want to wrap things up and not keep you any longer, but Danielle got cut off. Danielle, did you hear me answer try to answer your question? You got cut off there.
I didn't get the full answer.
I'll answer it. Danielle, we'll talk offline. It's a special situation. The bottom line is, the PI does need to be meet those faculty appointments, but if you've got a colleague on the faculty who would work with you, then you could participate in the proposal, but not as the PI, as I understand it.
Okay, thank you.
Well, if that's all, am I missing anybody else, Camila? Anybody's got a better set of eyes than I do at this late an hour? It's been wonderful to meet you all. I take it as a sign, actually quite encouraging to see the familiar faces on this phone, on the Zoom, and new ones, none of which were with us on the first round. So that's a sign of encouragement that we might be on the right track. So thanks very, very much for participating, and we're always ready. All the questions are answered. We hope in the links you already have, you've got ample time to formulate your proposals. The deadline again is December 4th, and I'll do everything I can. I'm just one person on the selection, and I'm on the pre-selection rather than not the selection committee itself, to move things along as quickly as we receive your proposals in December, so that you do get an answer as early as possible in the new year, which I hope will be a good one for all of us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Take care of yourselves
Thank you.
in these stressful times. Bye, everyone. Bye now.